Welcome back. Welcome back to HR Week 2021. Again, if perhaps you've just joined us right now today, you haven't been with us at all, welcome to our HR Week 2021 on our fourth day of the week. We've been doing this every single day with different themes. We started off with strategic HR, then people-centric HR. Digital Day was yesterday. Today is all about HR development. And just to let you know, again, we've got a great day ahead of us tomorrow. For many would actually say maybe the highlights of the week, depending naturally on your specific preference. C-level day as well. Right, so back to business today. It's HR development. We move on to a session all about looking at change as an opportunity. Change as an opportunity. Just think about this. Imagine you change jobs during the pandemic. Now, I'd say that to you right now. Maybe some of you listening to this did that, but I'm sure it brought you lots of maybe some anxiety, maybe quite demanding, and looking at those changes and then seeing how you came out the other side. Probably, I can imagine it's quite an intriguing story as well. The next person to speak right now, she made that change, and she's going to tell you a little bit about her story and how you can really take these changes and really turn them into opportunities. Head of Operations and Planning at Symphony Solutions right now in our virtual playground is Yuliya Rack. Yuliya?
Hello, thank you, Peter,
Hello.
for this introduction.
Hello, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm actually at home, taking care of homeschooling of a sick kid. So multitasking is something we all have to experience.
Something and it seems you can do. It seems you're doing it really well as well. Where are you right now, if I can ask?
I'm right now in Lviv, Ukraine. That is the western border of the Ukraine, and as you see, we're all we're entering the evening here already.
Right.
I think a majority of the people in the conferences are still in the daytime.
Yeah, we're kind of in the day, although it's getting darker here, certainly in Belgrade. But listen, thank you so much for spending the time with us, and specifically now where you've got so much to juggle with right now at this moment. So thank you for being with us. I'll leave it up to you now. I'll come in towards the end. Hopefully there'll be some questions from our listeners and our audience, and I'll come in and ask you those questions. But for in the meantime, right now, over to you.
Thank you, Peter, and I hope for the questions too. So, hi everyone. I hope you can see my presentation now. So, hello, my name is Yuliya Rack, and I'm head of operations in Symphony Solutions, which is a Dutch company with 3 biggest development centers in Ukraine, Macedonia, and Poland. And currently, in my role, I take care of the operations, which means basically all of the activities for the business growth, for the maintaining of the day-to-day issues, problems, escalations on the operational side is the type of things I take care of. And that is an extremely interesting job, which will probably in some few years bring my beautiful Slavic hair into the white color. But I do love it. And today here, I am very pleased and happy to share a little bit of the insights on the story on my side. Because, I've been speaking to conferences before a lot, but my previous speeches in my career have always been on the best practices, tips and tricks, and today is different. I've decided to talk today about more conceptual and philosophical things, and that is on change. Why so? Because I believe that I have a brilliant personality. I'm very loyal and devoted and patient person. I'm also empathetic to understand others' position and take care not only of my interests, but of the interests of others. But what I've found out almost entering my 40s is that actually that brings the price. And the price is I am afraid of change as hell. On my personal level, in my personal life, I do use my patience and empathy and understanding of others to keep up to things that are given to me, not to be brave enough to embrace change in my life. And some 3 years ago, in 2019, I've made a drastic change. I changed the industry, the country, the position. I changed everything about my professional life to enter a completely new story for myself. And the very first thing that I have seen happening is that my deepest beliefs that I had, they were shaken. Um, for my entire career, in which I spent in HR, in talent management mostly, I did believe that if I find one thing that is my strength, that drives me, gives me the passion and meaning, I will be successful. And that's how I built my career. That's how I taught like dozens of people to build their career. And then suddenly I found myself that this very notion, which I believed so deeply and which I still believe, but this very notion brings me a feeling of being in a cage, because I did love to develop people and I was on the top of all possible positions that I could take on in my company. And I was like, I didn't have a feeling that I'm heading anywhere. I was blocked and stuck. And I was thinking that I'm loyal and devoted, and that's why, like, I'm rational as well. I accept that reality because it is okay reality. And the thing is that it brought me to a huge depression. And a very first personal insight in embracing the change in my life was that um, actually doing drastic changes will bring you new passions, will bring you opportunity to apply this very same strengths that that you were applying in your well maintained and stable place, but you will be able to apply them in new places in a new way. And I found out that these very same strengths and passions that I was experiencing in my well loved and well established place, I can actually apply in a different way in new occasions. And that brings a lot of new experiences about yourself as a person, as a leader. And that also brings you a lot more challenges, things you have to overcome, and that brings you the freedom, the feeling of freedom, which is you're not um, limited to one set of things that you have to apply your passions to. Actually, the choice is much bigger, and the choice is as big as you have the uh, power and bravery to try and experience. And that was the first and most probably prominent thing to me, which happened to me when I was trying to change my careers. But meanwhile, with that freedom to choose, what I have found out is the more you take responsibilities and the more you dive into the new waters, you basically encounter yourself with a number of situations and people as a leader who are having expectations which you cannot fulfill. And that is especially critical when you're managing with some sensitive issues. And when you have to, as a leader, be accountable of things that impact the well-being, the career, the stability of your teams. And in the middle of the COVID pandemic, I've found out that I actually am not coping. I am in a totally new sphere for myself, and I don't have answers to majority of the questions that my teams are bringing up. And the problem was that even my boss doesn't. No one knows what's gonna happen. Um, and that was probably another strong insight about managing the change in my personal life. And that insight was at some point of time I had to sit down and choose. I had to choose the battles. I had to choose things I can influence on and things that I have no impact on whatsoever. And I decided to be frank with my teams and also to focus my attention and efforts and willpower and energy and worries on things that I do can influence. Um, and sometimes they were really minor things leading to the baby steps of progress. Still, I focused on them, and baby step after the baby step, small thing after the small thing, the changes were happening. Even if I could not do drastic like shift of the reality for some of the teams, for example, with some of the teams, I did had to lay people off in the pandemic time. It was a very stressful and traumatic experience to myself, but I can tell for sure I did whatever I could to keep those people that I could keep in the teams. So basically, focusing on these things that I can influence on could help me do the impact, do the difference, and also to stay sane because changes at times were too many. There were there was a flood of things to be addressed. So focusing on the things you can influence rather than on all the things happening around. The next one was about leadership, because with changing the levels of positions, and currently I manage a few teams, I found out that no matter the background, no matter the the level of seniority of people, no matter the how drastic is the change that we're going through, me as a leader, in essence, I am responsible for bringing hope to the teams. And I can choose the toolkit, right? I can choose, I do it by providing the structure, the vision, the detailed product map, how are we gonna achieve the result. I can do that by motivating the team. So the toolkit can come. And for the toolkit, there's a number of theories of leadership. But basically, what I am choosing to do as a leader in times of change is I am always taking care of the level of hope in my team. And by bringing up hope, I can see that this is basically for me the only way for the people to buy in, to stick to the change, and to try do their best for the change to take place and to develop in the right directions. The next one. Well, this insight was really coming to me when I, at some point of time, when all of us have ended up sitting up at home and working from home, I was taking care of setting the anywhere part of the business of Symphony Solutions. So we were gathering stakeholders from all over the company in order to make sure and to align how are we gonna open the anywhere business unit of the company. And it was a huge process. It involved a lot of stakeholders. Different people had different points of view, and we had to implement these changes very rapidly because the company was working now from anywhere. And for me, and we were doing that in an agile team. The Symphony Solutions is the company where not only dev teams, but development teams, but also all of the support teams, all of the operations teams are working by agile, usually using Scrum. And for anyone who's at least a little bit acquainted with the agile teams working, it's always about people, not about documentation. We value people relations over documentation. And what I found out that if you want to do the change fast, you have to do it the old school way. And something which was my heritage from my previous life actually helped me a lot, because I started implementing things that people were not much used to. I started putting the documented process over like team self-management, right? And for me, when I'm doing any change initiative, the important thing is, first of all, gather people, align them, document what they agreed, document the things that that came out as a decisions, and uh, how we agreed to move on, and then teach everyone to apply those decisions to life, and align if people have different points of view on how these decisions should be applied, and then stick to these decisions and pursue them to implementation. And for those who are not willing to do so, you have to come back and do discipline. And the thing is, when doing that, changes started happening faster. And I think that in one of the biggest lessons that I have now working in an agile organization is that the old school, the traditional ways of doing change is actually very much applicable in self-managed, self-governed teams. The place where I'm now is actually, we have been doing a number of new initiatives, new developments in the company. And the thing which I most bother about or think about now is how to make it live. How to make it live beyond myself, how to make these processes and systems survive the brutal check of time. And for me, what I'm trying to do now, where I am now, I'm trying to automate as much as possible. So the processes are not dependent on individuals, on me or on someone in my team. Rather, they go by themselves. They go automatically. I'm working on delegating major chapters, major areas of work to individuals and to the teams. So the power or responsibility is not only in one place, at myself or at someone from my direct reports. So these changes become an essence of the work of multiple people, not of a few individuals. And of course, I'm seeing and looking for the ways to empower people, create their own processes, their own initiatives, their own projects that are based on the things that we have already implemented. So the system lives by itself and is not purely dependent on this small team of founders who have started the changes. Now, all this said, there is one big insight that I try not to forget, and I would like to also raise here when talking about change management and how to deal with it. And that comes from one of the most formidable experiences that I've had in my life. And this here on photo, it is the city called Angkor Wat. It is the city that was built by Khmer civilization back in 10th, 11th century. They have abandoned that city at 12th century for some reason, and that city was forgotten. It was forgotten for 600 years until rediscovered by the legend. There was a person who believed the legend that there is this ghost city in the jungle, and he went there and he actually found the city. And the city is fascinating, really enormous architecture, a very powerful place. But there is one even more powerful insight that I was having when I was visiting the city. And the insight was the nature actually is capable of destroying even the most formidable pieces of the ancient architecture. And it does not care. And me as a leader doing these initiatives and changes, I always try to remember to be thankful and humble, because the people around actually want to take care of those efforts that I do and of those initiatives for improvement. Because really, without them, without people who do pay attention, who do care, all of our efforts are useless, are not having any sense whatsoever. And in general, I do know that, and I'm one of the people who have probably experienced all goods and bads of the COVID, as many of us, I think that any changes, but COVID changes in particularly because they have been so drastic, they are opening us all a window to a magnificent set of opportunities that we have never had before. And we actually, even us, the loyal ones, the devoted ones, we can use these opportunities very well to try out new things that have never existed as an opportunity for us before, because the workforce is more global than ever. We can apply to most of the big companies in the world now, hire anywhere. The new professions appear, the new spheres of business appear, geographies really get saturated. We really have much more chances that we used before the COVID. We just have to be open to that. And in my personal story, it is the formula about bravery, choosing your own battles that you would like to, or you feel capable of taking care of, having the people around and bringing them hope, and then using your experience to manage the change in a structured way, and being humble and thankful for people following you. Is this the formula that worked for me for taking opportunities with the changes happening around? And in essence, I would like to finish with the words of a great Macedonian Jew, Dr. Itzhak Adizes, who is saying that, well, change is a problem, obviously, and all industries and companies are taking care of change and investing a lot to manage the change. But the thing is, that life is change. So if there's no change, there's no life. So wherever there is a life, there will be changes and there will be problems. And we just have to grab the more beautiful or better part of the change, of the opportunities that come with the changes. And that's the major thing that I think we should be focusing on when managing change. Thank you very much for your attention. If you have any questions, let me know.
Yuliya, listen, I'm looking. I'm just looking in the chat. There don't seem to be any questions right now, but I'm just intrigued to hear. And it's, you're absolutely right with this. One of the reasons why we don't change things is these barriers that are in our heads telling us maybe the things we don't want to hear, but we have to hear them. And you changed. So you changed career. You changed the job, and you changed demographics as well, right?
Demographics and industry, yes.
The whole
it
thing
has to come all together.
The whole thing, absolutely. And I'm sure you had your doubts, didn't you? You had
a lot.
There were days. There were probably really, days where you would think, "What the hell am I doing?" Right?
I think I think there was more than days. Yes, I did take a lot of doubt, but at the end of the day, it takes a step in order to jump into the whirlpool, and then there is no way back, and you find it much simpler than you have imagined. Actually, I think living it in the head is a much more painful process than living it like in real life.
Yeah, this idea of the word regrets. Yeah. If we're living with regret, that's actually more painful than actually than not doing anything at all. So looking back and making sure that we've at least tried, because often it's the unknown, isn't it? Not knowing. So like the stuff things now, if you knew how things would kind of unfold, you would have done this earlier, huh?
I think so too. But on the other hand, I think we have to be prepared, because if I have done it earlier, probably I wouldn't have done it the same way. So I think for everything, you do have the right time to do it. The major thing, you're right, it is tried.
Yeah, and also this idea about the timing. the right time, and that comes with all the decisions we make, isn't it? Really, making sure it's the right time to do something, because it might not be. We might have this urge to do it, we might really want to do it, but in fact the universe is telling us perhaps it's not quite the right time. And sometimes we just have to kind of wait, right? We have to wait a little bit longer to see where that door will open. Listen, it's been intriguing to hear your story, and I'm sure others are pondering, are looking at their own kind of situation, perhaps professionally, maybe even personally as well, and thinking to themselves, perhaps now is the right time for them to make that change, or maybe just to wait a little bit before they make that real change. Yuliya, thank you so much for sharing this, and again, thanks so much for your time, because I know, as you said, you're juggling with your is it your son or
That
daughter?
was a great pleasure.
Yeah, your family, someone's ill in your family, so you've got to make sure that everything's running smoothly. So thank you so much.
Have a great conference. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. There we are. So we move forward very shortly onto our next session, and this is, let me tell you, this is a good one coming out. We've got a great one coming out. We have actually got a panel discussion with featured global HR leaders, and we'll be jumping into talent management and development, and really looking at why these topics have become so complex, and maybe more importantly, looking at some great examples, their examples, their real life examples on how they're developing and moving forward. So stay with us, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes.